For a week now, stories about the ongoing conflict in Gaza have been splashed across the front pages of major world newspapers.
Tanks are positioned outside the entrance.
And have headlined just about every nightly news program.
Here, an Israeli family trying to salvage what they can. One woman standing speechless among the ruins.
Only problem, that family wasn't Israeli. They were Palestinian. ABC later acknowledged the misreporting, but critics say that mistake represents a broader problem with the recent media coverage. Or as Peter Hart at media watchdog group FAIR writes, ABC's error should be seen less as a simple mistake and more as a reflection of a worldview. Critics say that worldview boils down to simply Palestinians attack and Israelis fight back. Take the headline on a story BBC published last week, which read, Israel under renewed Hamas attack. After some backlash, the BBC ended up revising its headline. The Guardian's Owen Jones says the original headline was a very one-sided way to put it when you consider the facts. The media coverage hardly reflects the reality. A military superpower armed with F-15 fighter jets, AH-64 Apache helicopters, Delilah missiles, IAI Heron-1 drones, and Jericho-2 missiles, and nuclear bombs for that matter, versus what David Cameron describes as a prison camp, firing almost entirely ineffective missiles. The Gaza Health Ministry says over 190 Palestinians have died as a result of Israeli airstrikes, more than 30 of which were children. On the Israeli side, 0 fatalities. Critics offer up those numbers as evidence of how disproportionate they say Israel's operation in Gaza has been. But many Israelis say those numbers don't tell the whole story.
Many Israelis have a lot of empathy towards the civilian casualties in Gaza. However, sometimes I almost feel as if Israel is being punished because we have the Iron Dome system, which seems to be pretty effective, and the rockets are also inaccurate. And I feel it's somewhat frustrating for me because I think people are saying, well, you know, Israel, they don't have these mass casualties, but it's certainly not for lack of trying.
Hamas has been clear about its intention to kill Israelis, with a spokesperson recently saying all Israelis had become targets for missile attacks. Israel blames Hamas for the civilian deaths, accusing the militant group of storing its weaponry in residential areas, leaving the IDF with no choice but to strike there.
The IDF uses weapons to safeguard its civilians. Hamas uses its civilians to safeguard their weapons.
Israel says it's doing its best to prevent civilian casualties, including dropping leaflets and sending text messages with evacuation warnings to Gaza residents. And for that, a writer at Slate says Israel should be commended. Anyone concerned about the deliberate targeting of civilians in this conflict should first look at Hamas. The rocket fire from Gaza into Israel began well before the Israeli assault on Gaza. But many Gaza residents say they aren't given enough time to evacuate their homes.
Just 44 seconds to leave the house. Imagine that there's elderly, children living there. Are you gonna leave them within less than 1 minute? No one can evacuate his home just like that.
Mohammed Al-Ila passed along this video, appearing to show a Gazan home getting a warning from a smaller missile, followed by a full airstrike just a minute later. Prospects for peace appear slim. On Tuesday, Hamas rejected an Egyptian-brokered ceasefire. Israel has responded by resuming its airstrikes. For Newsy, I'm Elizabeth Hagedorn, multiple sources, a broader view.